Hello, and welcome back to Dev Game Club, a weekly podcast in which two veteran game developers look at games from the past to discuss their relevance and impact today. I'm Brett Duville, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, a man who wears his Halloween costume 365 days a year.
Tim Longo. Is that a reference, or are you?
No. I'm just picking on you. Yeah. Well, it's Halloween, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I do wonder what I'm going to dress up as for Halloween every year, and then I end up just being myself. So I guess you're actually accurate.
Yeah, see, there you go. You look just like everybody else. I actually had one that had a reference to, and I'll probably use it next week, but it had a reference to Winona Ryder, whose work I'm currently enjoying in Stranger Things Season 2. So.
Oh, yeah. I haven't started that yet. Good Halloween theme, though.
It is indeed. We, of course, are playing Silent Hill 2, and we have played sort of a second chunk of the game, starting from the end of the apartments and leading into the bottom of the prison where it becomes the Labyrinth, which is a pretty sizable chunk of stuff mentally. It's a lot to take in.
Oh, man.
Because I had texted Tim that at one point he was almost to like my favorite moment in the game, one of my favorite moments in the game. And then tonight he's telling me, oh, it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be this. And
yeah.
Any one of them it could have been. So I guess, there's two really big things I think to talk about in this section. And the one happens really kind of right away, and that is the introduction of Maria in the park.
Yeah, well, but don't forget we ended before.
Let's start there. I forgot because I had wanted you to play that, but I forgot that we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, we stopped
before. So describe what happened next from where we stopped last time.
Well, I mean, okay, so we talked about Pyramid Head before in the last episode. And of course you assume he's going to be kind of like, your big bad nemesis kind of creature guy, and he doesn't seem to be killable. So of course you are about to, I think at that point you're leaving. Yeah, you're basically leaving the apartments, and they put you into a room, a tiny room with just him, and this creepy pool of water, which you can't go into at that point. And yeah, he's just there,
just there menacing you.
After
he has his way with another.
Oh right, yeah,
lady.
God dang! All right, yeah. I just still don't know what to think about him. He is just so freaky. And so, did you say this was his first game? Did you say that last time?
I'm pretty sure this was his first game. Yes,
So he's introduced here. Yeah,
he is introduced here, and I'm not sure if he appears in other games in the sort of main series. These first four games, he was in Silent Hill 2. I'll look it up, but
I just, as far as like major horrific bad guys, antagonist, characters, he is something else. Like, just there's a reason he has stood the test of time as one of the creepier. And I had heard about him before, because I had not played a Silent Hill game before this, and he has his reputation preceded him, and so you put in this room, and he's just like running around in circles. He picked me up at one point, and I guess did some damage, but I escaped somehow. And he has that big sword cleaver thing, and he just drags it on the ground, and
he's like a Final Fantasy anti-hero or something like that.
Yeah. But then he has these, like, I don't know, even his boots are weird to me. I don't know, they're just these simple black boots, but they kind of look like ninja feet boots.
Right, the split toe?
Yeah, the split toe. There's a name, I'm terrible, it's terrible that I can't remember it. Anyway, but then, so then I guess the mechanic with him is you're just supposed to shoot him a bunch, right? And then he gets slower when you I feel like when you hit him with bullets, he slows down, and then eventually he decides to leave. Is that what you're supposed to do?
You just shoot him or beat on him and do enough damage to get him to
and then
flee.
He just leaves. Yeah.
And he leaves. He just is, oh, I'm done with you. I'm not interested in this anymore.
Yeah.
And he walks off. He's apparently unharmed.
Yeah, he's like, this is boring me.
Your only information about him being being damaged in any way is that he just takes off. I think the word you were looking for was tabi boots.
Yeah, tabi boots. Yeah. But then he walks into the creepy water. Just clearly he doesn't. He can breathe underwater.
Right in there.
He's so funny. He's just like, okay, I'm leaving now. And then he just goes into the water slowly, and you're watching him. And of course, you can't do anything. And it's just this kind of like a drawn out little moment. And you're just like, this is the craziest game. What is going on? And then the water drains. And then, of course, you follow him. And you're like, okay, all right, why I better go down there. I gotta go follow this guy, of course. It's like
this guy's got it going on.
Yeah. He's immortal, so I better go. And then there's another moment later on where I want to bring up when we get to it in the prison, where you're just like, clearly I'm going to go there.
I feel like there are some topics where you come back to. One might be water, because it seems like there's stuff going on about water in a couple different areas.
Oh, maybe what's another area?
So when you go to the park, which we'll go to next anyway, I'm pretty sure there's a memorial or something to the people who drowned in the lake.
Well, yeah. The Stephen King,
and then that comes up again in the prison section. I'm pretty sure they're mentioned again, in a note. It might be in the hospital, but it's somewhere a little bit later on.
Yeah,
they mention this disaster and these people who are under the water, and I don't remember. I'm wondering now myself, does that come up again after, in the next section that we're going to play? So we'll see, because I don't remember anything specifically. So I wonder if it's just a subtext of there's something beneath the surface or whatever. Just this menace of there's this unseen force that is below the waves.
Yeah.
And that of course, Pyramid Head can just wander right into it. I did look him up, and he's basically only in one other game, and it's not in this main series. It's in Homecoming, and I guess he makes an appearance in one of the movies.
Oh, yeah, that's the one the one the collective did.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, down in the West. It's funny that's the case, because he feels like so iconic, and he's the character everyone always brings up when somebody's talking about Silent Hill. Because I feel like, I guess all the rest of the games don't generally follow one character, so.
No, they definitely don't.
Not like a through line,
Right.
So
1 and 3 are very related. I think 3 is directly a sequel to 1, but 2 and 4 are totally independent. And I don't know if the later games, when other developers took it on, I don't know how or if they're related. Clearly, the collective one is related in some way, but because it has Pyramid Head. But I think that each game is meant to be its own sort of nightmare, and they're all kind of an anthology rather than a series. Much the way Cloverfield is, for example.
Right, which I love which is, again, something I didn't know about the series, and I love about it now. It's intriguing to me that that's the case versus Resident Evil that has this canon to it, and this kind of the macro story and macro organizations and characters and stuff. And so it's fascinating. They have the New England horror vibe down pretty well, I'd say. It's interesting that they chose to set it here, and one of the streets is Bachman.
Right.
Bachman Street, I think, or something like that. And
that's a direct King reference, of course. Because that was his pseudonym.
Which, as a quick aside, by the way, something that Reed and I played, and we're still kind of playing, the Secret World game, the MMO, that's a horror MMO, and they have a great New England zone that's very, very much like this. Anyway.
One of these days I'm going to get to that game. Hopefully before they shut it down.
Call out to it's good. It's very good. Even as a non-MMO fan, if somebody who just wants to play an RPG with interesting writing and horror themed, it's very cool. And Cthulhu's thrown in there too. But anyway, so then after that, I forget. Let's see. So you go out down, and then you basically get outside at that point. Wait,
that's right. You
You follow him and then, that's
you
right.
follow him and go basically straight outside and into a neighborhood that takes you up to the park. The Rosewood Park or Rosemont Park or whatever it is, Rose something Park. And you pass by the little girl.
Yeah, right.
Pass by her, and she's got a letter, and
a prediction
from Mary.
Laura,
yeah, go ahead.
I have a prediction about her. So this is a super dumb, out of left field prediction, but something's up with that kid.
That I think is clear.
It's an understatement, but I feel like maybe she's Mary, but as a kid or something. Like there's this, I don't know. And then when we get to the hospital, I have so many questions that maybe you have answers for, but we'll get there in a bit. Well, I guess that's about where we're going to get to. Because once you talk to the girl, she talks about a letter from Mary, and actually
Laura, she says you didn't love Mary.
Yeah, Laura talks about Mary again later when you find her in the hospital, about how they knew each other from the hospital. But that was like a year ago when Mary was supposed to be dead this whole time. So, man, what the heck is going on? Then, you move down the street toward the Historical Society, but then it's blocked off, and then you find a map there, I think.
You skipped you skipped right over the park.
So I did?
First you go through
okay. See, I'm so out of whack. Because you go back to the park a second time. So.
You go back to the park a second time. So let's go to the park the first time, because this is I think part of the real crux of the game.
Yeah.
Is Maria.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of things about Maria. One thing is, when you meet Maria, basically the first shot you have of Maria is the same shot you have of Mary in the photo. She's in the same place. She's got the background behind her of the lake. She's in the special place.
Right, park. But her hair's different, yeah.
But her hair, there's a lot different about her. She's frankly, she's sexier than his wife. She has a tattoo down by a butterfly tattoo, which of course, transformation, metamorphosis. She's got this butterfly tattoo like on her pelvis. She's got an exposed midriff. She's got a short skirt, this low-cut sweater, and basically a tube top or something underneath. And then, of course, she can pick locks, which we learned a little bit later on. She picks a lock to get into the building. So this is an edgier, sexier version of his wife.
Yeah. Maria versus Mary.
Exactly. And I think that this is the whole Madonna horror complex. Right, I think this is deeply psychological here. I don't think this is just saving themselves from having other assets. I think this is Mary and Maria are clearly meant to be related.
Yeah, intentional. I mean, to be honest, let's see if you throw. No, I guess it wouldn't work. I was going to throw in the three witches metaphor as well with like the little girl, but maybe that doesn't really work. I'm hell bent on trying to make this little girl work into this somehow, but hopefully they figure all that out later and tell us. But
it may still happen.
Yeah. So and then the funny thing about James's reactions to all this stuff is, I mean, he's so vanilla and so like just unrealistically naive at all this stuff. And under the circumstances, like things are so like the funny thing I feel like they've hit this interesting uncanny valley with like their character motivations, because they go halfway down the, no pun intended, road of they're kind of reacting the way you would in this situation. Like they talk about the monsters everywhere and people are scared and I almost died. But then half the time they don't act the way they should in this situation. You know what I mean? And it's melodramatic and unrealistic, and somebody is, just had the most horrific thing occur, and then they're joking like literally the next scene or moment. Right. And so there's inconsistencies there that kind of bum me out sometimes. But one of the other notes I wrote down kind of in this vein that I do appreciate on the positive is, I feel like, or maybe you mentioned this in the last episode, but I feel like for its time, like it is a very adult game, and I don't mean that in a sexy way. I just mean that it is a mature.
It's not an NC-17 game.
No, it's not an NC-17 game. I just mean it is it is mature. Not in the I don't know, Call of Duty mature rated kind of way. It's
no, but
the themes are mature.
Themes, yes, the things it makes you think.
Very
about.
Dark.
The things you have to know to understand it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to appreciate it. It's very dark. It's very, and I can't, like, Resident Evil. I never would put Resident Evil in that camp. And I'm trying to think of anything similar on the PS2 or PS1. I guess. Well, see, even Hitman was pretty melodramatic. Yeah, I don't know. There's a groundedness to it, even though it's yeah. I mean, they made fun of. Yeah, they weren't trying to be taking themselves too seriously, but I feel like this game is taking itself pretty seriously, and most of the time I like that, and I'm okay with it. To your point about Maria, though, going back to her, I feel like another kind of Twin Peaksy kind of feel from this sort of juxtaposition of these characters. Unfortunately, they're all, the female characters, so it's not the greatest, but in that regard. But having just finished the Twin Peaks with The Return, the new shows and stuff, it's just there's a lot of those themes of like Laura Palmer, right? Like she had different versions of herself that different people knew, who, knew the daytime Laura, and other people knew the nighttime Laura, and it ended up killing her ultimately. But sort of the duality of life, of, the underbelly. So I'm curious if any of that comes through, and what the Maria Mary thing really is all about. Of course, don't spoil it, but
no. I mean, I think the movie I actually thought of, and it didn't occur to me to bring it up last time, but remember when we were talking about being in the closet and seeing Pyramid Head, through the closet door? That actually brought to mind Blue Velvet.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were going to say. Yeah,
more than Halloween, because it's this naive vanilla guy in the closet looking out at this rape with this powerful man creature thing, and the woman stand-in creatures. I don't even know what to call them, but I mean it definitely takes me back to Blue Velvet more than it does Halloween. Although the same sense of threat and dread is in both of those things, the two kind of mix together in a way, because there's also the supernatural threat of a Michael Myers. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, multiple influences.
You can see both of those things there, and certainly that's why closets like those work, and why your wife wants to take them out of every house you have.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically influences from David Lynch and John Carpenter. It's like it's taking those best pieces from those influential directors, maybe, is where it's coming from. The other thing that happens with Maria, though, that was another flabbergasting note that I wrote down is companion AI. Like, you meet her, you talk to her, and she's kind of like, oh, who's, you're looking for your wife. She gives you some, she teases you about it and stuff, and then she's like, you're not going to leave me here, are you? Which is, again, going back to my point of she's reacting the way that she normally would probably in that situation. But at the same time, she was standing in the freaking park by herself this whole time. Why was she, like just leaning on the railing? When you got there, it wasn't like she wasn't hiding or something. And then she reacts that way and says, why would you leave me here? This is dangerous. Which kind of gives me an impression that maybe it's an act. I don't know, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. But then she follows you, and now you have a companion running around with you that, by the way, you can accidentally kill. Which I did.
Does the game end?
Yeah, game over.
Just game over screen.
Game over. Yep, just fades out. It happened at the end of the hospital section, which we'll get to, because obviously those hallways were pretty. So I just turned around and. Yeah.
Oops.
Stray bullet. Maybe didn't go to its intended target. So I was just surprised about that. And then I guess you're kind of protecting her along the way. And then, she ends up being a key later as well.
She's a key for basically the next door, because you track down Laura, basically runs away from you.
Well, you go to the bowling alley and then you meet Eddie.
Right. You meet Eddie again, and he's
eating pizza, which is, again, where did the pizza come from? But okay, never mind. And then they're having a conversation, he and Laura, and you find out her name. And then you talk to, you get a little bit of information, and then you go outside from Eddie, and you go outside, and you're just leaving Eddie there again. Like, I don't know what this guy's deal is, and he better come into play at some point. If he's just this random character that barfs and eats pizza, and then, so then you come outside, and then Maria says that she saw Laura running away, and so you follow her. But then the funny thing is, in a roundabout way, you go, the way you follow her ends up taking you through a strip club that she picks the lock to get into, which is like, okay, maybe unnecessary, but in the tone and theme, it seems like, of this place, another kind of Twin Peaksy feeling thing. And then Laura dodges into a hospital, of course, because you got to go to a hospital.
Right. Well, it's a hurricane. You got to go to a hospital.
Yeah. But yeah,
I sort of feel like these characters are also reflected in those tablets. You got to the tablets, right? In the prison?
Tablets.
You might not have gotten there. You didn't quite make it through. Okay.
No.
So there are some tablets later on that are named that have...
What do you mean tablets? Like stone tablets?
Like stone tablets. Oh. And one is the seductress.
Yeah, it's all archetypes, yeah.
One is the oppressor, and one is the gluttonous pig, who I think may be Eddie.
Oh, crap. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah. Oh, wait. Is this a 7 Deadly Sin thing?
Possibly. There's only 3 of them.
Enough of them.
But then there are the
But
rings.
we're playing on the easy difficulty of the puzzle, so
No, I don't think that puzzle could fit 7.
Okay.
I think there's only 3 tablets. That's basically another puzzle that makes that gives you a key, more or less. But we'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah.
So you chase Laura into this hospital. The fact that you go through a strip club with this woman more or less immediately after you've met her, is also kind of indicative of what's going on here.
Yeah, and it's just that's the roundabout way that they chose as a level design choice to, they're painting a picture of the tone of the game that they want, right? They could have easily, because you go, there's on the map, at least, there's a Mexican restaurant and there's a motel and, and a few things. So they could have made a different choice, but it seems like a juxtaposition or rather a partnership with that.
Right. Well, and she just seems comfortable in there.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the things I like about that companion AI is that as you go through doors, when you get on the other side of the door, she's just in some interesting spot.
Yeah.
So they can pose her or whatever. And I do think that she poses somewhat seductively when you're in the strip club. She's leaning against the wall, and I don't know that she's smoking a cigarette, but you could imagine her smoking a cigarette. Just
and then some of that is probably just to get the AI.
She's not pole dancing or anything like that, but
no.
But there are definite. Yeah, sure. They're playing. They're turning those weaknesses of companion AIs into
it's clever,
into strengths. So it's well done for sure. So we go then. We chase Laura to the hospital, which is a big, huge set piece. It's as complicated, if not more complicated, than the apartments.
Oh, I think it's way more, especially because of some of the events that happen. It complicated even more. I have to say, I didn't think. So I'm assuming this will be a continuing theme for me. I didn't think that I could go to a place more terrifying than the apartments, than my experience in the apartments. And then when she ran to the hospital, I was like, oh no, this is going to be so much worse. Hospitals, and there's probably like psych wards, and then not only that, but the hospital itself gets worse and worse as you go to different levels and different things happen. But yeah, she runs into the hospital, and really your macro
and you go to the other side.
Yeah. So what is that all about? Like,
so first of all, my first note about the hospital is, ugh, the nurses. because the nurses are just so scary.
Yeah, they're pretty freaky. And again, yet another iconic character from this franchise that you see people dress up for Halloween as,
Right,
and
right.
super
Faceless, creepy nurses.
Messed up. Yeah. And also
and
some of that.
And again, I hate to harp on this because I sound like a Freudian nightmare myself, but that is the flip side of the other nurse costume you see at Halloween.
Yeah. I mean, it's
the sexy nurse. It's such a cliche.
It stays within this uncomfortable theme that this game has. A
lot of discomfort with sexuality.
Yeah, and clearly
and
very
especially
intentional.
in a hospital where James Sunderland had spent time recently, right? Because his wife was sick.
Okay, wait a second. What do you mean by that?
Well, so she had cancer.
Yeah, but in this hospital?
Not necessarily in this hospital.
Okay,
but
okay.
In a hospital setting.
Yeah. I thought you meant... Oh, yeah, okay.
And so my thinking there is he views these nurses as horrors now because when he was in the hospital, maybe he was attracted to the nurses.
Wait, so are you saying this is all a figment of his imagination? The
Silent Hill?
All of Silent Hill is.
I'm not gonna say that, but I do think that these things are reflected. We'll talk more about what Silent Hill 2 is doing with James as we finish the game.
So, as proof, I did write down the same note, and I have it here that it did come to my mind. I guess I quickly purged it after I wrote the note because I guess I was hoping it wasn't the case because it's maybe too obvious. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh, it's obvious.
It's the all in your mind thing. But then the other side thing, maybe that's why I kind of discounted it because the other side thing threw me off.
Let me read that because I wrote down that whole doctor's note. There's a doctor's note that you find basically right when you enter the hospital. I think it's in the first room you can enter.
It's in the office, yeah.
Right. There's an office straight ahead. Right.
One of the clues for that game show, by the way.
It is.
I think it's in that, yeah.
It says, the potential for this illness exists in all people, and under the right circumstances, any man or woman would be driven, like him, to, in quotes, the other side. The other side may not be the best way to phrase it. After all, there's no wall between here and there. It lies on the borders where reality and unreality intersect. It is a place both close and distant. Some say it isn't even an illness. I cannot agree with them. I'm a doctor, not a philosopher, or even a psychiatrist, but sometimes I have to ask myself this question. It's true that to us his imaginings are nothing but the inventions of a busy mind, but to him there simply is no other reality. Furthermore, he is happy there. So why, I ask myself, why in the need of healing him must we drag him painfully into the world of our own reality? So, There's a couple things here. One is, okay, this seems to describe maybe James's situation, but
I had another theory.
He's not happy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't perfectly describe James's situation. But let's hear your theory.
Well, no, I when I read that, I immediately thought it was Pyramid Head. That he... I don't think it's as strong of a theory as James, though. Now that you've read it out loud again.
Well, so the three. So I have more to.
Pyramid Head is too. He's too two-dimensional for him to be a character. To your point about id before last episode, that he really is like a personification of an idea more than an actual character. You know what I mean?
Right.
That he represents in an iconic representational way, to just be redundant with myself, an idea than he is. Like, I don't know if Pyramid Head has a backstory. You know what I mean?
Right.
He didn't.
You don't wonder how Pyramid Head came to Silent Hill.
No. He's manifested from some event or person's mind or something. Because it's just you can't. He's just. its imagination. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess it does make a lot of sense. But the thing, so in the hospital, you kind of do the usual shenanigans of going up and down floors like you did. Level design's a little bit frustrating sometimes.
Hold on. So next to the note, by the way, the doctor's note,
there's a key, right?
There's also patient notes.
Yeah.
On 3 patients.
Yep.
And the patients' names are, I believe, Jack, Josh, and Joseph.
Okay.
All names that begin with J.
Yeah. Okay. Stretching, maybe, but okay. Maybe. I'll go with you on that.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But they all have different.
They all present different symptoms. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Actually, the second clue for that game show was in the apartment. I misspoke. If you want.
That's yes. It was something about murderers, maybe.
Yeah, there's a story in the newspaper.
Like
Yeah. I got that
Walter
one wrong.
Sullivan, maybe.
Yeah, it is. It's Walter Simpson, maybe.
Right, something like that. Yeah. Which is an anagram for. No, I'm kidding.
For Pyramid Head. So there's those notes. They kind of, I'm trying to think of, to support your theory, what other things you piece together in the, I do love how it's on the map. It scratches off doors that you can't access, and its visual language is pretty good. I wish there was more indication without having to go to the map every time, and also where if you found what you needed, like Resident Evil, where you're done with this room because you found everything you need to do.
Right, and changes colors.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it. But yeah, so yes, I mean
here there was definitely a point where I was frustrated and could not figure out where to go and just had missed a door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everything else was scratched off or had arrows through it or had clear locks and I had no more keys or whatever. And I just couldn't. Couldn't see it.
It's easy to miss. Yeah, one of the notes I wrote down in general is because I always have anxiety over missing things. And then, in fact, that did happen to me in the apartment section, as I mentioned, I think, last episode. Mm-hmm. So I'm overly cautious about like scouring so it's taking me much longer, I think, because I find a lot of health and ammo by doing that, but it just takes me forever. And then, locked doors, like,
and that I think is actually a problem because I do feel like in this game, everything that you have to see, you have to visit, obviously, but there are rooms that you don't have to visit, and
they're the same importance.
There's no distinguishing between them, and I would rather just cut out. I feel this way, so this is a little digression. I feel this way about chests in role-playing games. There's a random roll when you open a chest, and sometimes it's just empty.
Yeah.
And every time that ever happens to me in a role-playing game, I want to throttle the designer. Because what was the point of having this?
Yeah.
I watched the animation, the chest opened, there was music, and sorry, nothing. Or even worse, a mimic. But let's not go to the mimics, because that I'll be here for hours talking about my hatred for mimics.
It's content. Right, it's content. It's not a good reason, but it's
not a good reason. So no mimics in Halo 6. Let me just say,
or empty crates,
or empty
treasure chests. So I mean, I'm trying to think of other, like, before we hit some of the big beats in the hospital, what else to say. I mean, the nurses are introduced, of course, super freaky. Their audio design is amazing. They're the first enemy with a melee attack that has some range, so I couldn't use my usual tactic, so switched to my gun at that point and stuff. And I have way more ammo because I'm playing on easy. Way more ammo and health than I really need at this point. And then possibly. Let's see, is this before or after the other side?
Well, so when you get in, Maria lies down in some room and takes some pills.
Yeah, which is what? She was just talking about wanting to be escorted around. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah. She lies down in a random room.
I think that's an echo of Mary.
Okay.
Because
was that? You think that was her room? I didn't think of that.
I think it reflects her room. I don't know if it was her room, but
she was in the hospital.
She was in the hospital. And I feel like
said Laura.
This is an echo of her.
Did you go? By the way, did you go back to her room during the being on the other side?
Yes.
Super creepy. Oh my God, it was amazing. I was like, wait a second, is this? And then you find the pill bottles, of course, so you know it's the same room, and she's breathing. I want to cuss so much in this episode but I won't. Yeah. Anyway, so she lays down, and then you keep looking for Laura, and it's just I just am a little irritated by the kind of up and down floors and like taking these stairs and then going to the other stairs and then the elevator, but then you do get to the roof at one point.
Yes.
You're like, this looks suspicious, this roof situation. You're like running around, nothing's going on.
Yes, it's really funny because nothing happens, and you go, and I had forgotten this entirely, but you go and there's like a ladder that's blocked off, but I recently played an Uncharted game. I'm like, oh, maybe I can go up that ladder. Nope, can't go up that ladder. There's fencing everywhere. And then there's the other elevator door, and you can't open that either, and you're like, what is the point of this? This is a mess. Why am I up here? Yeah. And who shows up? Our old friend. Yeah. Pyramid Head on the roof. He's very stealthy, that guy, by the way. Like he shows up whenever he wants. It's almost like he's always with you.
Okay. I like that. That's good. Didn't think of that one. Well, what I was about to say that it just dawned on me, does he trigger the radio? I don't think he does.
I don't think he does.
Son of a... I think
he may not. Because every other time we've seen him, he's in the presence of things that definitely do.
What about the end of the hospital, though? I don't remember.
I don't...
Because he's by himself there for an extended period. Anyway, interesting theory. We'll have to confirm that at some point. But if he doesn't trigger the radio... I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it
definitely doesn't on the roof.
No, he doesn't. That was my point. It's like you're just like turning around and all of a sudden, and basically they trigger a little cutscene. So
right.
He knocks you off.
Which is basically another key for a lock, right?
It is.
You get into a room you couldn't get into before.
Exactly. Which is a pretty cool key as far as keys go. But my favorite key is coming up. But I'll talk about that in a second.
Well, no. Just take us through.
Well, I mean, this game, as far as puzzles go, I feel like even more guilty. They're even guiltier than Resident Evil is, as far as like just finding keys and putting keys into locks and all over the place. They just find different kinds of keys to put into different kinds of locks. Sure. Some pretty ridiculous ones. The rings in the door, the lady with the arm in the door, and whatever.
That's pretty bad.
Pretty silly. Yeah,
put two rings on this. And they put a riddle around it, like that matters.
Yeah. Well,
that's flavor text to justify, it feels like to me.
I did get stuck, I will admit, because I didn't see her hand on the door, and then there's where's that riddle talking about a lady, the lady of the door, the woman, I
didn't write this riddle down for sure because it.
You know what I'm talking about, though, where they
yes,
there's a poem or something
about. There's a little
lady at the door,
a little bit of doggerel about her, and something about a bridge, maybe.
Yeah, a bridge. You can't cross her bridge. Who knows what it means. Anyway, no, the most ridiculous key / best key of 2017 is. A lockbox on a bed with ridiculous amount of security. They've got a padlock. They've got a combination lock.
Combination locks, yeah.
They've got a couple padlocks, I think.
And keys. 2 keys.
And of course, you're collecting all these keys, and most of the stuff you get before you get there, which is always a little bit weird design because it's just, I don't know. The order of operations for lock and keys is tricky, in my opinion, and I think you need to be careful with that stuff. But anyway, I won't digress there.
I think people should go back and listen to Day of the Tentacle, where we talked about this very issue.
Okay, good. All right, good. We've covered it already.
It was one of Ron Gilbert's rules was about keys.
Oh, okay, yeah, games. Right, of course, yeah. Okay, so good. We should get Ron on someday. So then you systematically take all of these chains and stuff off of this lockbox, which is on a bed, which looks like literally you could probably just take it off the bed if you wanted to. Like the chains didn't seem to be holding it very well. And then the box opens, and what is in there but a freaking hair? A strand of hair.
In fact, it says, there's nothing in here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, there's a piece of hair.
And the hair is like beautifully laid upon cotton, or some sort of, soft material inside the box as if it's fragile or something, or probably it was for something.
Precious.
Precious. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's the ring thing they find in the. That's true. They even mention that poem where the poem or the note that talks about going down into the basement to get the ring says the word precious. I don't know if you caught that. My precious ring.
But I will never go back. Blonde hair laid out like that, I thought of Galadriel.
Oh, yeah. But then you find that one ring in the basement, right? That's a bloody ring, kind of like someone's finger was cut off, perhaps. Mm-hmm. So then you use that, and then you combine that hair with a bent needle.
Yes.
From a teddy bear, which is also
that you found in a teddy bear.
It's like you could so easily miss this stuff. Like, I'm basically hugging the walls and pressing A bunch just to make sure. And there's other teddy bears in the game.
I was going to say James actually turns his head.
Okay, fair enough. I do have that note written down as my first note for this session.
If you're in a room where his head is not in a sort of neutral position, there are things in the room. And once you've found everything in the room, then you're all set.
Yeah,
he will just go back to neutral position, and now I found everything.
No, it is a nice touch. I did like
the
that.
room with the teddy bear is a locker room, and there are things he can look at in there that are not the teddy bear. There's a sexy poster on one of the lockers, and I think you get something else. There's a
shotgun.
You get a shotgun. You also get something in the pocket of the.
Yeah, there's a key in the pocket. Yeah, it's one of the keys to the.
Right.
Oh no, it might be a different key. Yeah.
Well, there's another thing in that room. So there's a bunch of things, but the poster's always there. So you could actually go in there and be like, oh, he's looking at the poster and miss the fact that the teddy bear is also in there.
Oh, I didn't see the poster, I guess.
I think. I could be wrong about that. I didn't take explicit notes about that, but I can imagine cases where these systems work against the puzzles a bit.
Which I keep forgetting to mention. This is a total non sequitur. Sorry, but I'm looking at my notes. Did you switch to 2D controls?
I am using the default controls for the Xbox version. I'm not sure what those are.
So is it basically tank controls? Like you push forward, and he will move forward no matter what direction the camera's facing? Or is it camera relative?
No, it's camera relative.
Yeah, because the default for the PS2 was tank controls a la Resident Evil.
Okay. Right.
And I immediately changed that to 2D. They call it 2D controls, which is camera relative.
Okay. I think that's what the Xbox default is.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. Anyway. So keys. This game is hilarious with its keys. And then you fish. So there is some theme with green goop. Because there's that one room in the apartment complex where you reach. I mean, again, James does a bunch of ridiculously dumb things, makes some bad choices. He reaches his arm through the wall
Oh yes.
And you can get some rumble on it, and he's like, "Oh, I can't,
No.
You're like, why is your hand in there, dude?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, but there's green goop there, and then when you use this needle and hair key, again, the best key combination of all time, you fish down this drain that had green goop coming out of it too. So I don't know if there's
going into it, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's more of a visual flourish just to indicate, hey, there's a thing here.
Yeah, maybe it just seems so meaningful because it's so
right, because it repeats.
Yeah, and it just a couple times, but I look for meaning and stuff like that. Yeah,
no, that's reasonable. I haven't thought of anything, but it's possible.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
game.
the green. I think what's trained me to think that way is Resident Evil, because of this, the experimentations and science and viruses and stuff like that, which they teach you is a part of the canon there, but that's not the case in this game. It seems like, so I'm probably off track. Yeah. So then here, go ahead.
Right. So here, basically, then after you've done this, I think basically at that point you can get to the basement. Is that right? That sounds right.
It's a little bit out of order because I feel like the basement comes after you go to the other side. And you meet Laura first. Right? And then you meet her upstairs at one point.
And she locks you in the room.
She locks you in, and that's where the other side starts, right? After that encounter. Right. So we have to talk about. So, but the other thing we mentioned earlier, I feel like the key piece of information that Laura gives you in that meeting is that she knows she knows Mary from the hospital.
Yes.
And meaning, I guess, this hospital, and it was a year earlier. Meaning
2 years after Mary died.
Yeah. Wait a second. I just had another wacky theory. I'm just going to say it on air. What if you're smiling because you know how this ends, but what if Mary's not dead? He's just crazy and in the hospital, and in his version of his psyche, she's dead, but she's actually alive in the real world or something like that. Anyway.
I'm gonna quote the esteemed Björn Johansson at this point and say, we've gotten to this question where, is it a dream or is it a nightmare? And the answer is, Tim, it's neither. It's a video game.
What is that from?
Remember, we had an email from Björn about Inception. Is this a dream? Is he?
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Is it a dream or is it reality? Neither. It's a movie.
Good quote from a fan.
Deep pull. Yes. Like, there is a point at which I feel like I can't contain all the pieces in my mind all at once.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm fitting in the pieces that make sense with my existing theory and just forgetting the rest of them.
But you know. Okay.
Sure, so I know how it ends. But now I haven't played it in a while, so it's not like it's fresh.
But now I'm a little worried that maybe even after it ends, you don't have all the answers. Don't confirm that, but if memory's one thing, but if you're at the point where you're still piecing some stuff together, then the ending, playing the game the first time, didn't leave enough of a clear impression on your head to have the answers.
Well, I'm also going to tell you this. The game has multiple endings.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Well,
there are 4 endings to this game.
What? Okay, this is probably going to be a wiki hunt after we finish then.
We're going to have to go watch videos and things like that.
I'm going to need answers. So what was I going to say?
Right, so we get locked in this room by this brat.
Yeah, right. Of course, James.
It's in there. It's in the back. Can you just get? She wants you to get something for her, I think, or that there's some note.
It's just a lie. Yeah. No, I don't think there's anything in there.
Snows you, and you go in there, and then you get the face the lip monsters, flesh lips.
I mean, I thought they
so creepy.
I thought they couldn't one up themselves. And they show up later, once you're outside the hospital, right? And they're also in a painting with with Pyramid Head later too. But anyway,
Oh, that's true. Good pull. I didn't notice that, but you're right. Yes.
yeah, they're hanging behind it. Basically, they're
Right.
these fleshy people in cages, but this
They
like
have limbs that hang outside.
hang
They have
out.
feet that hang below, and
And in
they're
this,
caged.
oh my god! And they kind of like roll out of the ceiling, and then move on these tracks, and then they
Right.
grab you with their feet and do damage to you.
They're sort of the opposite of like a bumper car, where bumper cars they're
Yeah,
powered by the roof, but you drag around on the floor, and these are kind of the opposite. They kind of hang down from the. They
Yeah, it's
feel like
like
they work the same way a bumper car does.
It's like a dry cleaning rack or something.
Sure, yeah, it's very bizarre.
I just could not. I could not believe. Like, I didn't think that they could one up themselves on these designs. Like, and this is beyond like Clive Barker. Like, it's like what is these creatures are? And then, like you said in the cutscene introducing them, you get some close-ups of some of their quote unquote pieces or whatever, right? And you're just like, yeah, I don't know, man. I could not believe it. I just could not believe it. So then here I am, shotgunning the heck.
Creature design.
Yeah, it's just they're just these folks. Their minds were out of there are very few traditional designs going on here, right? Like these are not pulls being influenced by Romero or anybody, right? Like they're just not coming from traditional places.
George Romero. Yeah.
That's yes, right.
Not John Romero.
No. Yeah. So anyway, that was something else. So you fight these things, and then here I am, like aiming my shotgun at the ceiling, hitting these things.
Yes.
Their sound design, audio design is really, really creepy and weird and good. And they eventually you kill them, and then I am not really sure what happens. To be honest, like it goes to a cutscene. And it sort of shows the ceiling again. And then, like, I kind of want to go back and rewatch that because I really couldn't parse what was going on. Maybe you can explain it to me. But the camera kind of like tracks up into the ceiling or down from the ceiling or something. And then you hear Mary say James whispering. And then it goes dark or something. And then you wake up and you're in the garden, which is really just one square room outside, and it's like raining, and there's green, grass and squishy grass and stuff.
I have absolutely no. One of the things I noticed about that's really interesting to me is on the map, the garden space.
The garden's huge.
Is enormous, but in actuality, it's the equivalent of a 10 by 10 room or something in Dungeons and Dragons. It's like it takes up 50 by 50 in terms of space on the map, but
I love how your spatial awareness is in D&D squares, not in actual feet or something.
No, I have no idea.
That's very telling.
When you're mapping stuff,
yeah, I get. No, I get it. That's just very accurate.
We're in an interior, so there's no hexagons. It's all clear, regular 10 by 10 grids.
Yeah, so you're clearly, once you wake up or whatever, I forgot actually about the other side reference in the thing you read, but that's clearly what's going on. Because as soon as you leave the garden, you're in the same hospital, and the layout seems to be the same, but your map has been reset.
Right.
And so all of your red scribbles are not accurate anymore. And so you're relearning, but then the art design of the space is like grosser and creepier and more messed up, and like rooms have complete like plastic wrap all over them, and like things are
like
way
every room's a crime scene, and
way worse. And
yes, like you said, you didn't think they could top themselves, and yet here they are.
they made, now of course, semi-brilliant, I'm a little bit pissed at sort of reusing spaces. So, I'm always mixed on that because you kind of call production value, foul on that because they get to reuse those spaces. But it was different enough to where I didn't mind in this case, because it's like they're trying to make a point with the other side. But so clearly, I didn't call it the other side at the time until you mentioned that thing you read. But clearly that's what it is. But I guess the thing that kind of my worry in sort of the same way that I worry about Twin Peaks, especially after the revival return, finishing that stuff. I won't digress. You kind of worry that maybe there isn't a plan here. That they're just throwing stuff at the wall and there isn't a cohesion to kind of like Lost, it's like they don't really know what the end game is.
Lost was exactly the thing I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I think they do.
Okay, so here, go ahead.
So I feel like
question for you then.
I feel like the two sides of the hospital might reflect his two sides of the hospital experience. One while she was alive, and one while she was dead.
Mm-hmm.
One after she died, or maybe two sides of the hospital. One when he had hope that she might survive, and one when he didn't.
So when do you come out? When do you think you come out of the other side?
I don't think we have.
Okay, so if that's the case, my confusion that maybe I'm overthinking and trying to use too much logic, of course, which is not a good game to do that in, is Mary shows up in the other side as if nothing had...
I mean, Maria.
Maria, sorry. As if nothing had happened. And in fact, you can go back to the room where she was sleeping while you're in the other side with her, and the breathing's gone, but she's there with you. The pill bottles are there, and then she's just with you as if nothing had happened. So either she is on the other side with you.
You don't pick her up in that room, though.
No, you don't. No, you don't. But you can go. I went back there because I wanted to see.
Oh, okay. So I did it in a different order. I found the room with the empty pill bottles first.
I did. No, I did too. I did both.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went back.
And then I went because I wanted to see
if she would react.
I wanted to see what would happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, at least they were consistent in that the breathing was gone. If you go back with her, so there's not like an inconsistency there. Which, by the way, I think I mentioned earlier, but that was a brilliant moment, going to the room on the other side and hearing her sleeping, but not seeing her there. Super creepy. But again, I'm still like confused. I'm still
maybe she hasn't been pulled over to the other side yet.
Yeah, right. I'm still skeptical that it's that cohesively thought through, but maybe it is, and maybe I'm just being a skeptic. But when is she pulled over? Because you eventually find this refrigerator you need two people to open. That of course reveals a ring for some random reason.
Yes.
A lead ring to boot.
Super heavy.
When does
like
she?
The door.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was a little silly myself.
What? I don't forget when she pops back up though. When does she?
That is a good question.
I don't remember. Yeah. So that might be a key piece of the kind of puzzle of the other side. But yeah. But I mean, as far as other than that, you get the rings. You go through that door with her. What other revelations do we have before the ending sequence? I think that's about it, huh? You're on the other side consistently at that point. And you kind of do the usual back up and down. And I couldn't find the door with the lady on it for a while. And so I went all around that place again and again and again, trying to figure out what I missed. And then I kind of put two and two together there, with the rings. You go down that staircase, which I think goes down again to the basement area. You go out into the lobby. Oh no, what's the order of operation? No, you got the lobby after that, right? Yeah, because you go down and you're in the depths of things, and there's like a furnace, and it's very Freddy Krueger, and you're in a hallway, kind of just, and the camera work is really good in that one.
He finds her in the basement. So the thing that you can do now that you're in the other world is you can go all the way to the bottom of the stairs to the basement.
Yeah,
and
okay.
She runs into him there.
Okay, yeah, and that's where you get the other ring too. as well. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, because you push
That's
bookcase, and
right.
she kind of pops up.
Yeah.
She comes out literally comes out of that basement room with the ring. That's super weird and creepy. Yeah, so then you eventually get through that, but then you get to that hallway at the end, and of that section, I think.
Yes.
Yes,
Basically.
The camera works really good. You're in this really, really narrow hallway that kind of is snaking through the basement with furnaces on either side sometimes and windows and stuff. And guess who shows up?
Our old friend. And I don't think the radio is on there because of the furnace audio. Just
yeah,
from
maybe.
They also play a pure technical concern. I don't think they could have been streaming both.
Well, they also play music. There's definitely some music going on.
Right.
When he shows up. So the first thing I do is shoot Maria accidentally. It's like, well, this will solve everything. Game over. But he's, of course, he can't be stopped. And I did try to turn him, to do what you usually do with him, but clearly there was no turning him around in that case because there's
nowhere to go. Yeah.
There's nowhere to go, and they want, obviously, the event to happen that happens, and you get to the end of that hallway, and it's the proverbial elevator door closes before she gets there, and she's left on the other side with her hand through the elevator, and he gets to her.
Yeah, he skewers her.
Terrifying. Yeah. I didn't see what exactly happened, but didn't sound good.
Yeah.
And then you end up, so Maria is dead, but you're still on the other side, so who knows what that means. I guess the funny thing, the thing that's warping my head right now on this whole other side thing is I just got a kind of a general sense that the place where you are when the game begins, right, and up to this point you've been this whole time, feels like the other side already,
Mm-hmm.
Because something's up with the town and things are so weird.
Right.
People are acting weird.
Exactly. And there's these dead things, right? And
there's these dead things.
There's these spaces where the world has dropped away. There's just huge gorges where streets used to be. Yeah. There are huge walls that you can't cross. It is already super strange, I agree. And then
you go to another side.
You come out of the right, and now it's even weirder, and you're in you return to the streets and they're all dark, which is it's a really good section. It's maybe a little long because it basically tells you have to go here to get a thing so that you can open this lock.
Kind of silly, yeah. Although there is that one weird section before you get to that place to get the wrench where those lip creatures show up again, but it's like
they're hanging underneath.
They're hanging underneath you, and I didn't die there, but can you just fall did you fall in that section? Because it's like part of the thing.
There are holes, but I basically run around.
Okay, I thought maybe that they made holes anyway, another weird section.
I am playing on such an easy combat difficulty. I just don't think these things are happening to me. And I don't feel like the combat is necessary.
No, I'm running by a lot.
Because with horror especially, I feel like doing a thing a second time just ruins it.
Yeah.
And so having these sections, I feel tons of tension.
Yeah.
I'm just in terror sitting there playing this game for a couple of hours, even though I'm running by a bunch of monsters and not engaging with anything and just getting to the puzzles, and then having the audio do its work and all the creepy stuff do its work. And the monsters are kind of, having them there is good as a threat, but I don't have to engage with them to feel their threat and their menace. So,
I agree with you that they do feel like a vestige of the time, that it is felt like kind of a necessary element that I feel like these days with the kind of modern horror, especially the ones that are more walking simulator,
amnesia, you mean,
and they're able to really be a lot bolder with their choices in this regard, of fewer monsters that are more powerful and scarier, and you know what I mean, and kind of bigger bang for the buck, or like Alien Isolation, what that seems to be as well.
Right. That's a good analog, sure. Although you die a lot in that game without even without the combat. So just because the alien finds you, and then it's
Right.
all over. You get to see yourself die again and again and again and again.
I still haven't played it, but I still will.
It's delicious. I'll send you my copy. You have a PS4 now.
No, I have it. I have it on Steam.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. You. Anyway, just to finish that thought of sort of like the other side, I guess that's kind of breaking my brain. So I'm really interested to see how they tie this all up. But yeah, you eventually go back to, you find the wrench and the note that somebody had written to you.
Yep.
Actually mentions your name, which is another sort of interesting wrinkle to all of this, especially if there's some sort of psyche going on here. And then you go back to the park to reveal a key that was buried that you have to open with a wrench for some reason.
You have to use the wrench to remove these 2 bolts that are holding this lockbox down. You get into the lockbox, and there's another key, and it's for the Historical Society.
Yeah. Yep. And then
we get to the Historical Society. I don't think we need to dwell on the Historical Society, because I think the prison stuff, and especially the Labyrinth, we'll be spending a fair amount of time on next time. One thing I will point out is the Historical Society is right on the water. And you just keep going down and down.
Yeah, good point.
When it starts, you go down about 3 stories worth of steps.
It's amazing. I wrote that note down too. I don't know if I can think of a longer hallway in a game than that. And it was sort of...
I'm pretty sure Metal Gear had...
Wait a second.
Where you climb up a tower and you're going up and up and up and up a bunch of steps.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's a long time. A long time. There's there's even a ladder. There's a really long ladder in the original Metal Gear Solid that you climb up. I think it's the first one.
Well, we'll test that theory out. I just think it's fun. This is just funny because all you're doing is running forward.
Exactly.
And it just goes on forever. It felt almost surreal.
At a certain point, I turned around because I was curious. Is this a nightmare?
Yeah.
Sequence where it seems like I'm running down a thing, but it's never getting any longer.
Yeah,
I'm not really moving or whatever. But you don't know. You are actually moving through multiple stories of stairway space.
It's kind of a Lovecraftian kind of feel to it, especially your point about you're basically going under that lake, right? I forget the name of it. Toluca Lake.
Right. Because you're going to Toluca prison not too long before that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just putting a prison under a lake. Yeah, that is a good point. And super New England, little bit of Lovecraft in there.
Also super absurd, because one of the things about the land around lakes is that typically you're not building stuff under it because there's all this water. So it just...
it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
And I think that will be reinforced. That was actually the end of the Labyrinth section is when it cemented for me some of my theories about Silent Hill 2. The first time I played it. Because you spend all this time going down, 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 down. You haven't finished the prison, but you go down these long tunnels and then an elevator. You basically descend what feels like 7 or 8 stories of space.
Well, you jump down
into these holes that are maybe... Who knows?
It's hilarious. Do you want to jump down the hole? Yes or no?
No.
It's like, why are you jumping in the hole?
Why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
And you just keep digging deeper.
Video games.
Well, let's not spend any time on the prison, really. I don't think the Historical Society offers a ton. It does reinforce these people under the water. And did we forget something?
The game show.
Oh, the weird game show. That is a weird thing. Go ahead. I have no idea what that is. I'll be honest.
Well, once you're on the other side, you're in an elevator at one point. Maria's with you at that point, and
she is. Yeah.
A loudspeaker comes up, and this guy is hosting a game show a trivia game show about Silent Hill and asks you these 3 quiz questions based on knowledge, and it's just super surreal and messed up and weird. It's almost like if the psyche theory continues, or if that ends up being the case, it's like maybe he's watching that, like he's in a coma and he's watching that on TV or something, and that's how it kind of snuck in or something like that. And then it's optional.
Weird,
and that chest,
I didn't do it. Yeah,
the chest that's there is not there when you go. It's in a room you've been in before, and it's not there the first time you go in. So, so they add it. It's just very awkward. And then if you get it wrong, which I did, then it just sprays you with acid.
Oh, nice.
And I got one of the numbers wrong.
You think anyway, you know Silent Hill? You don't know Silent Hill.
Yeah. Well, the at least the other 2 I got from just memory, which is 2 of the... Yeah, anyway. So that was weird. I just wanted to mention that because I don't know if it's a non sequitur or what it was, but it was the most out of left field, wacky thing to have happen in the middle of this game. And even Maria responds to it. She heard it as well.
Right. It's the most... I think I would say it's the most Japanese touch.
Yeah.
Because often in Japanese horror, even not just Japanese, but Korean horror, Hong Kong horror, they have a weird attitude towards it in how they inject humor. And often it's very lowbrow. This is very broad. This voice is broad. It's a very strange moment. If you watch something like The Host or something like that, you have these wacky moments of basically goofy, even fart humor of just like, what? This doesn't make any sense in the tension that you're building. There are these weird moments of relief, which are typically very broad, extremely lowbrow humor. And this feels like one of those moments to me that they're just used to that in their entertainment. Because I don't think they're as slavish to genre as we are in the West. You would never have that in a Western, in a Hollywood horror movie of any kind.
Contrasting or something, maybe. I mean,
exactly. Or just having a moment of release of just, okay, let's do something goofy now.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Shakespeare totally does to do that too.
Sure. Yeah. But Hollywood doesn't.
No.
And Western horror doesn't.
But anyway, I wanted to mention that real quick. But yeah, so we can close down and...
Yeah, let's close down there. I was going to take a break, but we're here at an hour and 10 minutes. I'd rather just read the one email that we got.
Okay.
Because it's from our buddy. Yes. It's from our buddy Ficus, who wrote us a new outro.
Oh, yeah, right.
That I've been using for the horror episodes, which I inserted a little stinger about last week. But why don't you go ahead and read his email, and then we'll just break, and we'll cover the rest of it next time.
Okay. All right, cool. So subject, Silent Hill 2 from, is it Micus Ficus?
Micus Ficus, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hello, gentlemen. I'm loving the Silent Hill 2 series so far. Your enthusiasm for the game really shows. I haven't started it yet, but I'm excited to fire it up tonight, especially after Tim's repeated assurances that it is not an RE clone. It is not, in my opinion, in some fundamental ways, but I can't wait, Micus, for you to play it and let us know how it goes. He says something I also believe wrongly, apparently. I'm an aspiring indie dev with little skill or resource, but I have been kicking the idea of making a 16-bit inspired horror game. I'm insanely interested in hearing more about the relationship between the strength of the horror aspects of the and the lo-fi presentation. You've already established that the original PS2 version is much better than the HD remake, and that it's even more effective on a CRT TV. I think I even recall you mentioning that it makes the game scarier. Is this something unique to Silent Hill and its perfect stew of technical limitations, story, and console era? Or can you think of other examples from the PS2 or earlier, where the lack of graphical fidelity is a benefit? Horror is an especially challenging genre because the player needs to be immersed to really feel the scares. You have to connect with the character you are playing and really walk around in their shoes to feel the terror they are feeling. Sometimes it can be hard to form that connection with a blob of pixels. Looking forward to your response. Michael from Washington, aka Ficus.
Yep. Yeah, so thank you for your email. So my thinking was that it is possible to do it in lower fidelity, even much lower fidelity than this game. I think it relies a lot on setting a mood, and then it can go a bunch of different ways, either with a lot of writing and text that really reinforces what you're doing, or not. So I can give two examples, but I was wondering if you had any thoughts along those lines.
Yeah, it's an interesting question for sure. Not on the 16-bit side, but I feel like it should. I mean, I don't have an example, but I feel like it should be possible. It's a very intriguing challenge, I'd say. I'm trying to think of. There is a creepiness to. There is a low fidelity. I guess 16-bit is the appropriate term for it, but in this case, there's a Cthulhu cult simulator that I'm forgetting the name of. It's something Isle, Shrouded Isle or something.
Shrouded Isle, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's on Steam. I don't think it's on iOS.
It's by Tanya Short and Kit Fox Games.
Kit Fox, it is Kit Fox.
It's on Itch.io, yes.
Yeah, it's not necessarily horror, but I feel like it's monochromatic, as I'm remembering.
It is. It's two-tone.
Yeah, and there was also
stone etchings or something, or wood
right.
etchings.
And I feel like my point is in the stylization of that, and there was also another weird.
And what you're doing, you're sacrificing villagers to the great Chernobog, so that when he comes, you'll all be saved.
Yeah, it's great. There was also a. I'm using these as close examples as I can think of. There's also another, as you can see, I'm obsessed with Cthulhu. There's a Cthulhu simulator where it's almost like a Tamagotchi, but for Cthulhu, that was on the phone. That was also monochromatic, but the stylization of it was creepy. So I wouldn't say it was necessarily scary horror, but it was it was stylized and sort of in that less is more monochromatic, very simple, but super creepy and icky feeling, so I feel like carrying that theme forward. Some of the games in the past that I remember, low fidelity games really making impact on me, was Alone in the Dark 1, the original.
Yep.
Very, very simple, but the combination of pacing and camera framing and music, and to be honest, lethality. I feel like, to Brett's point, combat is not never something you want to repeat a lot, but if you get a sense that you are very vulnerable, which is kind of the whole crux of Cthulhu mythos anyway. You're very vulnerable as a human and against these gods, essentially, that you'll never win. I think that's I feel like that's a theme you could carry into a 16-bit game and have the same feel of it. But I feel like, if you think about like Splatterhouse or something like that on 16-bit era, like they just were campy, right? And I feel like not going
the Friday the 13th was one too.
Yeah, going after stylization and embracing that is the way to do it, and really like minimalistic, because I think you can do a lot with a little. Like I was just talking the other day of how one of my favorite, scariest enemies of all time are the creepers from Minecraft.
Because Minecraft is the thing I was thinking about. Yeah,
play quite a bit with my daughter, and there, a creeper at night, especially inside of a cave, it's like,
and they have great audio and
they're super lethal. It's like you really, you can get away from them fairly easy enough, but you panic, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because the repercussions that
if they get close enough, it's bad.
Yeah, but they're super simple design and very low fidelity. So I don't know, random thoughts.
So yeah, I have a bunch. I have so going all the way back to text adventures, so that's pre-16-bit. Infocom had a game called Lurking Horror, which is a Cthulhu-inspired text adventure, which I recommend. You are on a campus much like Harvard's or MIT's, and you've maybe summoned something from the beyond. It's pretty creepy.
Nice.
And it's pretty deadly, too, because you can die if you don't move quickly enough in the text adventure. then a friend of mine, Cameron Kunzelman, has done a couple of these games, and I can't remember both of their names. One of them was called Epinalepsis. The reason why I can't remember the names is because they're crazy names. But he made a game called Epinalepsis, which means a thing. And good, he's lost his website, so I can't look up the other one. I can't remember. Epinalepsis. Let me see if I can look up this term because it means something. Epinalepsis is a figure of speech in which the beginning of a clause or sentence is repeated at the end of that same clause or sentence, with words intervening. So I don't know what that means in the concept of that game. I will say, I wrote a preface for his game, sort of describing what I thought of the game after having played it in beta, and he shipped that with the game. So if you can go and read what I had to say. Anyway, I do enjoy them. They're very low fidelity adventure games. They look like 16-bit games, and they work like horror games. They are sort of Cthulhu-ish. You don't ever see a god or anything like that. Then one I mentioned last year when we were doing our horror special was Kitty Horror Shows games. These are games, they're 3D games, they're made in Unity, typically, but they are very low fidelity. They are not complicated games. There's actually not a lot going on. They're entirely mood pieces. There are sometimes puzzles. There's often narration, but there's not often a lot of fidelity in any way. You can almost imagine these being on short games on the N64, like on a cartridge with a bunch of them, something like that. So they're low fidelity. And then the last one I could think of off the top of my head is David Pittman's work with minor key games, which have and I'm getting the Terror from Beyond, which is your water pipe.
Yeah, apparently Pyramid Head's coming for me. Sorry.
And that's all right. And he's made a couple of games that have horror themes. One is Eldritch, which
I've heard of that one.
Procedurally generated Lovecraftian horror, and Slayer Shock, which is, I think, maybe vampires, sort of a shooter more. I think they both have projectile weapons in them, but they also have that sort of low fidelity thing going for them. So, and those are two games made by one person entirely. So they're interesting just in and of themselves for that point of view. And so are for that matter Kitty Horror Shows games. I have no idea how many people made Lurking Horror, but I suspect it was also one person. I do know Cameron gets a little bit of help, so at least for the audio.
Yeah, I feel like the wonderful takeaway for me with playing this particular game with the fog mechanic and the darkness, which again, still loving the fog, like just so brilliant. Is just, I mean, I feel like my favorite horror games that are good at it tend to be all about less is more. And, you know, the ones that try to go after super high fidelity maybe sometimes get lost. And not necessarily fidelity, I guess I'll say, or complexity, because maybe in like Alien Isolation probably is, you know, high fidelity, but it's simple and it's, you know, art design, you know what I mean? Because it's so based on the movies and stuff. But
exactly, yeah.
But I don't know. Just don't over kind of think it, I guess, is I kind of thinking of who the Amnesia guys and the Soma guys,
frictional games.
Like I haven't finished it, but I am in the middle of Penumbra, their first big game, or their first game, and it takes place in the Arctic, and it's very simple but very terrifying. And Dark Corners of the Earth, Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth is another favorite. Pretty low fidelity and very simple, but anyway.
That's an original Xbox title. Yes, Cameron's games are pixel games. Slayer Shock and Eldritch are more like Minecraft games. They have that volumetric thing going on, voxel thing going on, but they're also low fidelity, so they have that sort of same feel. What I was going to say is that horror by necessity relies on the unseen and the unknown. If we could see it perfectly, we wouldn't be afraid of it. Probably. I don't know. Maybe with the flesh lips. But in general, I think you get a lot from not being able to see, and that interplay of what you're able to see or understand or grasp. It's, I think, at the cornerstone of what you're sort of struggling with Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Is that you're having a hard time grasping on and correlating everything that you see, right? The greatest, what is it? The greatest thing about the human mind is its inability to correlate all its contents. That's a Lovecraft phrase.
Oh, is it?
Exactly the quote, but the
yeah. Well, insanity is the whole foundation, right? Of and psychological terror is the whole foundation of Lovecraft's whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, the most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate.
Right, because we would, yeah, and I also suffer from the need to want to get answers from, because we've talked about this, right?
You're a lore guy,
a lore and a canon guy, and if I can't fit it all together, then it just drives me crazy, and I have a fear that this is one of those games where they're intentionally not going to give me all the answers I want because it's more interpretive or something, or abstract. But
I think there are answers for all of it. I don't know that all of them were satisfying, but I believe there are answers for all of them.
Okay.
I actually, from last time, I went looking about the red squares.
Oh.
And there is no satisfactory answer to that on the internet.
Such a bummer.
And it's really funny because I found a forum where somebody's like, I feel like this has to mean something, but I can't figure out what it means. It's the only thing I can't figure out what it means.
Yeah.
So, and in a game that everything feels so explicit and chosen, it is hard. Anyway, thank you again to Micus/Ficus, originally at Giant Rat on Twitter, but he also quit Twitter. So you can't find him there anymore, but we thank him for his outro music, both
amazing.
Both the new grungy one that is a perfect accompaniment to Silent Hill 2, but also the one that we use week to week, which is the sort of more 16-bit remake of or demake of the musical theme I had automatically generated for me. So appreciate it.
Yeah, his is much better.
I know. Here we go. Anyway, he sent his email to devgameclub@gmail.com, and we appreciate it. I think that's the last of our email bag. We only have a handful of reviews that we haven't read, so you need to get more of those in, folks. For next time, we're going to finish this game, and we are going to discuss theories, and Tim's mind will probably be blown, and he'll be very upset. He's about to encounter some even crazier things as he heads through the prison and especially into the labyrinth, which, more good moments ahead, my friend.
Oh, let's just say, I mentioned over text that I'm in purgatory right now, and you weren't sure what that meant. Is that right?
That's right, no.
Yeah, so that's where I stopped, and it was 11:30 last night, so it's like, well, I'm stuck or something. I'm in a room where I found a key inside the room, and the door is locked, and the key, I'm doing something wrong or something. The key on it, the description says, those who doubt will be in purgatory forever, or something like that. And I'm literally in a locked room that I just walked into, and I have no idea how to get out of it. The key won't work, or I'm doing something wrong. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this room. So I'm an idiot, I guess. But I feel like
I remember that, and I didn't get hung up on it at all, and I can't remember what I did to get out. That's funny.
Yeah,
so, it was like such a nothing thing for me.
Yeah, well, you're smarter than I am, so
I don't think it's that. I think it's meant to be frustrating, and it's probably I had some echo of it from the first time I played it. So
yeah.
I don't remember. I now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, there is a room like that. So you haven't got to the room with the bugs yet.
I've literally locked myself in a room. Basically, I'm in the square room in the middle of the deep under this lake in a prison. Yeah,
nice.
So it's pretty. It was not a good way to go to bed. I'll just say that. It's like I actually did have nightmares last night. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. I've had some too, but for different
Other
sorts of
reasons,
dreams.
yeah.
I've been watching a lot of Italian horror from the 70s called Giallo. And that has been intruding into my dreams, which is
I bet.
good. Okay, anyway.
All right.
We are at Brett_Duville on Twitter, and he is
at Tim Longo Jr. with the JR at the end.
Next time we'll be finishing on the cast the game and talking about all our theories and integrating all of the rest of the crazy stuff that's to come, because you ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh, man.
And you can find us on at Dev Game Club. And by all means, send us your own theories to devgameclub@gmail.com. So next time we'll talk about the rest of the game and announce our next game. We won't be having an interview for this one because of the language barrier.
We've just stopped trying at this point.
So it's difficult to get the Japanese developers on, and between time zone differences and having a translator, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask. But anyway, we will talk to you next time, and I hope you all have some restless dreams. Good night.
Good night.